to you by...
In the early 50s, the world was introduced to Ed and Lorraine Warren when they founded the New England Society of Psychic Research. Since then, they have claimed to investigate over 10,000 cases during their long and infamous careers. However, it wasn't until 2013 that their story reached its peak, when a filmmaker by the name of James Wan, who made a name for himself with the Saw and Insidious franchises, took on the task of bringing their work to the big screen. Hello friends, and welcome back to ETF. It took me a while to get here, but I figured that with the latest and possibly final film in the franchise nearing release, it was about time that I tackle the latest horror-connected universe. One that tells the story of Ed and Lorraine Warren, and some of the various cases that they have investigated throughout their illustrious careers. Though it wasn't their first outing, we began this cinematic journey very close to home, in the grip of a nightmare that plagued a struggling family of 7 in Harrisville, Rhode Island, as they sought salvation from a nightmare to which they still have found no escape. Conjuring, directed by James Wan and released in 2013, is a horror film that weaves a chilling narrative based on real-life paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. While it offers a terrifying and suspenseful experience for viewers, the film also delves into psychological aspects that contribute to the audience's fear and the characters' experiences. This is a narrative that draws inspiration from a variety of sources to create its chilling and atmospheric horror, most notably the real-life cases of renowned paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. The film takes inspiration from their documented investigations, particularly that of the Perron family haunting, and their investigation into the Annabelle doll. The Warrens' experiences and encounters with supernatural phenomena serve as the foundation of the film's narrative. However, Wan also uses this as an opportunity to pay homage to classic haunted house films that have become cornerstones of the horror genre. Films like The Haunting from 1963, Poltergeist from 1982, even The Changeling influenced the atmospheric tone and suspenseful storytelling of The Conjuring. The film uses slow building tension, eerie atmosphere, and supernatural occurrences within a confined space to create a sense of dread and fear. We can also not discount the fact that Wan is very clearly inspired by the broader traditions of supernatural horror cinema. It captures the essence of films like The Exorcist, the Amityville Horror, in its portrayal of demonic possession and malevolent spirits. The film's use of religious iconography, exorcism rituals, and the battle between good and evil echoes the themes explored in these influential films. This film is set in the 1970s and draws inspiration from the visual aesthetics and cultural atmosphere of that era. The film captures the nostalgic feel of 70s horror films, with its use of cinematography, costumes, and production design reminiscent of the period. This choice not only adds authenticity, but also taps into the audience's familiarity and nostalgia for classic horror films of that time. The opening of this film introduces us to who would become our lead protagonists of the franchise, Ed and Lorraine Warren, by not focusing on them at all, and instead telling an abridged version of the story of a haunted doll named Annabelle that the pair encountered at another point in their career. This opening turned out to be impactful enough to lead the studio to make a trilogy of films surrounding this doll, and branching this series into a full-blown haunted house shared universe. But we will get into covering all of those at later dates. The visual style of James Wan carries forward into this film. Dark, rich blacks and muted colors fill each frame, inviting us into the haunted, withered atmosphere of the oppression that is to befall our titular Rhode Island family. The majority of this film is set in a small, isolated, local Rhode Island farmhouse, one that can be still visited to this day and still holds its rich and tainted history. James Wan, who is known for his expertise in the horror genre, employed specific visual techniques and stylistic choices to create the distinctive look and atmosphere of this film. The cinematography that Wan uses throughout blends a fluid style that gradually moves us about the house like a presence that is watching over our characters, with an unsettling handheld that makes the presence all the more tangible as it looms behind our characters in the dark, and makes us feel as though we are bound to see something terrifying at any moment. Wan utilizes some strong techniques throughout this film that allows the atmosphere alone to drive the horror of certain moments. It doesn't aim to show us something terrifying around every corner or in every shadow, but instead uses the mere suggestion that something is in the presence of our characters to build an overwhelming dread. This is a film that utilizes darkness well, submerging the characters within its crushing embrace during highly intense sequences, and leaving us to wonder if something might be lurking within the shadows. It builds this technique through long, lingering scenes, before finally paying off in the smallest but greatest ways. Wan also embraces the old school techniques, such as long zooms, immersive wides, and slow pans, each drawing us further into the situation and stringing us along in the tension of each moment. Wan and cinematographer John R. Leonetti employ various techniques to heighten tension and create an eerie atmosphere. This includes the use of low lighting, shadows, and clever camera angles to obscure certain elements, increasing the sense of suspense and the unknown. Wan employs a range of camera movements and techniques to build suspense and create a dynamic visual experience. This includes slow and creeping camera moves, subtle zooms, and precise framing to draw attention to important details or invoke a sense of impending danger. Well-timed and controlled camera moves contribute to the film's sense of unease and keep viewers on the edge of their seats. Lighting and shadow play a crucial role in the visual style. The film relies heavily on its lighting techniques, where stark contrasts between light and shadow create a sense of mystery and tension. Wan skillfully uses light and shadow to hide and reveal key elements, heightening suspense and creating a sense of visual unease. The production design pays meticulous attention to detail, creating an authentic and immersive setting. The film is set in the 70s, and the production design team recreates the period with accuracy. The attention to detail adds a layer of authenticity and enhances the film's visual appeal. The carefully designed sets contribute to the atmospheric horror, from the hauntingly decrepit farmhouse to the Warrens' Occult Museum. Each location is meticulously crafted to invoke a sense of dread and unease. The use of long hallways, dimly lit rooms, and claustrophobic spaces further enhances the film's visual impact, creating a sense of confinement and amplifying the fear of the characters and viewers alike. And of course, the film utilizes a desaturated color palette, emphasizing cool tones and muted colors. The subdued color scheme contributes to the film's ominous and foreboding atmosphere, creating a visual representation of the characters' fears and the presence of supernatural entities. Occasional bursts of vibrant colors are strategically employed to draw attention to important elements or intensify certain moments. This is a staple of Wan's entire career. Most, if not all, of his films feature drained color palettes. The film's score elevates the horror to a whole new extreme by building gradually with overbearing, almost operatic elements. It utilizes both extremes, from the quiet, haunting whispers of the spirits that dwell within the parent's home, to the thrashing moans of strings that rise up with the title screen. Each element assists in keeping us as the audience unsettled for the duration of the film, and unsuspecting of what we might encounter next. Much of the elements that build the terror are made up of things we have seen before in films like Amityville. Clocks stopping at certain times, rancid smells, bumps and thuds in the night. In fact, my favorite sequence in the film utilizes a technique that was used in Ty West's The Innkeepers, where a sequence in the basement is recorded using only the audio from a shotgun microphone that Ed Warren is holding. The elements I enjoyed most were during the scenes where they were conducting the ghost hunt. Fear is a primal emotion that The Conjuring adeptly exploits to generate suspense and terror. The film taps into universal human fears, such as fear of the unknown, darkness, and isolation. These fears trigger our innate fight-or-flight response, causing heightened arousal and a sense of vulnerability. Through effective cinematography, sound design, and pacing, the film creates a psychological atmosphere that keeps the audience on the edge, amplifying their fear and anticipation. The film builds suspense through expertly crafted storytelling and the use of psychological uncertainty. The film introduces an atmosphere of ambiguity by blurring the lines between the supernatural and the character's own psychological states. The uncertainty regarding the existence of the paranormal phenomenon makes it difficult for viewers to differentiate between what is real and what is imagined, generating a sense of psychological unease. A significant aspect that Wan dabbles with here is the exploration of belief systems and their influence on human perception. The character's strong belief in the supernatural phenomenon shapes their experiences and responses. The film highlights the psychological power of belief, as characters who deny the existence of the supernatural struggle to make sense of the terrifying events they are witnessing. This examination of belief systems provides a psychological lens through which the audience can reflect on the impact of their own beliefs and how they shape their interpretation of reality. Wan presents characters who are psychologically vulnerable, which intensifies their experiences and the audience's engagement. The Perrin family, portrayed as innocent and helpless victims, undergoes immense psychological stress and fear due to the haunting. The film explores how external supernatural forces can exploit psychological vulnerabilities, such as fear, grief, and trauma, to exert control and induce terror. This portrayal of vulnerability serves as a reminder of the fragility of the human mind and the potential for external influences to affect our psychological well-being. In response to the supernatural events, characters in the film employ various psychological coping mechanisms. Some turn to religious faiths, seeking solace and protection, while others resort to denial or disbelief as a defense mechanism. These coping strategies illustrate the ways individuals attempt to regain a sense of control over their psychological well-being in the face of fear and uncertainty. The film prompts viewers to reflect on their own coping mechanisms and how they respond to moments of psychological distress. I personally appreciate that there wasn't an attempt to modernize the events of this story. Setting the film in the 70s only further fuels the terror for me by keeping the events relatable, but also blending them with the ever-popular nostalgia factor. We do get a nice little subtle cameo by the real Lorraine Warren as a member of the audience when Carolyn goes to speak with the Warrens. It was a nice little touch that was very easily missed at first. I remember when the first trailer dropped for this one, I was more than excited for it. Not only was the trailer incredibly engaging, utilizing the clapping scene as its hook, but I had already been highly familiar with James Wan's career, and had been dying for his next film. So, like many, I rushed out to see it opening night, and I wasn't disappointed. When I first saw this film, I probably would have said this was an A at the very least. However, I feel that the elements that made this film work so well have since been bastardized and overworked by its numerous sequels and spin-offs, that it does now taint this film slightly. I still enjoy it for what it is, but honestly do wish it stood on its own, without all of these other strands forcefully attached. The Conjuring is not merely a horror film, but a psychologically rich exploration of fear, belief systems, vulnerability, and coping mechanisms. By tapping into primal fears, blurring the lines between reality and the supernatural, and examining the psychological impact of these elements on characters, the film provides a thought-provoking and immersive experience. It serves as a reminder of the power of fear, the complexity of human beliefs, and the profound impact that supernatural phenomenon can have on the human psyche. This is a film that utilizes striking visuals to convey its horrors. The film aims to deliver a more emotional horror experience, but for most horror fans, it will only feel like another mainstream thrill-a-minute spook show. However, I do feel that this film would be a decent introduction to new and prospective horror seekers who are just looking to step into the genre. Even early on, this film lays the groundwork for a whole franchise worth of terror that they have been building off of ever since. With the Warrens' room of haunted antiquities, there could be no end to the Conjuring mythos, some of which we will surely be exploring in the future. That's going to be all for now. As always, I urge you to check out this film for yourself if you somehow have missed it. I have placed a link down in the description on where you can get a copy for your collection. I absolutely think this is one that's worth checking out. It's a very, very strong film, despite the overabundance of sequels that we've been forced to endure. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe for more content, and if you really want to help support this channel, please come find us on Patreon. Every little bit is going to help this channel grow and get us to our ultimate goal, which is being able to make videos for you like this every day. Until next time, stay safe, stay far away from the Conjuring house, and as always, thanks for watching.